Okay, I'm gonna give a little bit just to make sure that we've gone live. Alright, looks like we're up on YouTube and up on Twitch. Let me actually go in and make sure of that. Because it's the first time I've ever done anything like this. Oh! I need to change my banner on YouTube, but it looks like I am live. Let's try Twitch. And it looks like I'm live on Twitch as well. Okay. I wanted to do Rumble, but I'm using the Restream, and apparently you can only do 2 at a time. And I think to do custom ones that aren't already on the list, you've got to pay for it. And shoot, I still got to make sure this thing even works before I even consider something like that. Plus, it's a bit pricey. Jesus. It's like $16 or something like that for like the lowest. In any case, so yeah, I'm going to be doing a live reading in just a few minutes for my short story called Mirror Mirror. Every story that I'm going to write, unless I specifically state otherwise, is going to take place in my own little fictional universe, which I am calling the Trilateral Realms. I'm still technically relearning how to properly write correctly. Talking in terms of hey, where does the comma go? What word should be capitalized? Stuff like that. Which, I mean, technically I should have learned by now. I'm a grown ass adult, but but yeah, I'm gonna have on all my different platforms that I'm on, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Odyssey. I'm going to have this full stream, as well as I'm going to cut it down to just the actual reading itself as a separate video. But yeah, it looks like... Is that Rusty recap? Like a recap like what all I just said? Where did you come in? I guess if I'm going over the basics, I'm live streaming on both Twitch and YouTube using Restream, and I have never done this before. And about 1 minute late. I guess I'll just go over some of the basics. Basically, I'm doing a live reading of a short story that I wrote called Mirror Mirror. I've got the little thumbnail there, which I don't know if I'm gonna add to it or do some other things with it. I'm not the best artist in the world, obviously, but I don't know. I think it has an interesting little style to it. Although, oh my goodness, those hands are gonna haunt my nightmares. I need to get better at hands. Yeah, I did that in what is the program called? Krita. We got a little drawing pad that I did that in. But in any case, I'm going to be doing a series of short stories. All the stories that I write, unless I specify otherwise, are going to take place in my own little fictional universe I created called the Trilateral Realms. It basically allows me to write whatever story that I want and have it all technically take place in the same continuity. As far as how the stories connect in different things, that will be revealed over time as I write more stories. But basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a series of short stories that eventually I'm going to compile into a book called Tales from the Trilateral Realms. And that's just going to be a series of short stories, and then I'm going to do, in addition to eventually full-length novels, I'm going to be doing basically novella series, where basically I have a series. The first one I'm going to do is called Midnight Falls, and then that's going to have a series of 12 novellas, kind of like a TV series with 12 episodes. Am I going to see it in Barnes & Noble? Shoot, hopefully eventually. That would be nice. I would love to be able to see my work in like an actual store, but most likely when I first start out, it's going to be like on like Amazon Kindle, and if I can get it on other platforms as well, I'm going to try to do that. The short stories, I'm looking into something like Substack. I need to figure out exactly how Substack works though. And eventually, as I'm doing these, I'm going to start doing like what are they called? Like, I know on YouTube they're called like super chats or something like that. I've never really looked into anything like that because I've never really looked into actually getting paid to do this stuff. But I mean, I'd like to turn, writing and streaming and stuff into a career. That'd be nice. That'd be fun. And I love having fun. Damn it. But in any case, this short story is called Mirror Mirror, and let me go ahead and actually pull up my draft from when I actually post, the real deal to. From what I'm reading now until when I actually post it in text form, some things might change. This is technically a story that I wrote, I think, in 2014. And if you want to get really technical, it's technically on Amazon right now, along with the next story that I'm writing called The Room, or rewriting, excuse me. Do not buy that version. That was a first draft that I couldn't get anyone to actually read, so in my frustration, I stupidly posted it, and I don't know how to take it down. I think I have to actually contact Amazon. I just don't feel like doing that right now. I want to actually get all these stories written and have it ready to go before I start doing that. But yeah, in any case, let me go ahead and we'll buy that. I mean, it's $1, so it's not going to be a complete waste of money. But both the stories in there and the other one is actually the original draft for book 1 of Midnight Falls, which both Mirror Mirror and The Room are technically going to be the same thing, just drastically refined. That is getting a major overhaul, and it's going to be a lot longer. But anyway, so yeah, here is my refined draft of Mirror Mirror. Henry was a handsome man. Too handsome, some might say. In fact, you could say his looks were what got him far in life. He was a wealthy man, an entrepreneur, and no one ever told him no. Each morning, he would start the day in front of a mirror for long stretches of time. He ensured that not a hair was out of place, and that his suit was pristine and free of wrinkles. This is what success looks like, he told himself, and he believed every word. After all, why shouldn't he? He had no reason to doubt it so far. One day, something odd happened. His reflection struck a big grin, though Henry had not smiled. At first he was taken aback. He was not sure what to think of this. But as time wore on, he stopped questioning the bizarre phenomenon and started to enjoy it. Whenever he would look, there it was beaming back at him, and he would always return the courtesy. Many weeks came and went, and Henry slowly began to grow tired of his reflection. Always smiling no matter what his mood, it was as if it had started to mock him. Still, he went about his day as he always had, trying his best to ignore every mirror he passed, as all mirrors had come to develop this habit. Just as bad was the fact that no one else seemed to notice. He was the only one who could see it. As uncomfortable as his reflection now made him, the fact that he could not talk about it, without sounding mad, made it all the worse. Eventually, Henry came to a point where he could not stand it any longer. He walked straight up to the closest mirror he could find, stared it dead in the eyes, and demanded that it stop smiling. His reflection did as it was told, but immediately Henry wished it hadn't. Looking back now was a blank, emotionless gaze, unnervingly fixed upon Henry as never before. The eyes seemed to look into rather than at him. As uneasy as Henry felt, he refused to let it show. More time passed, and Henry continued to avoid mirrors as best as he could. Before long, he began to see the blank stare in everything that cast a reflection. In trying to avoid letting his fright show, he became tense, rash, and ill-tempered, snapping at the slightest thing that used to merely irritate him. On top of all this, people had clearly begun to notice. He could hear them whisper about his strangeness through their eyes. Once again, Henry confronted his reflection. This time, he told himself, this time this nonsense will stop. As he looked into the mirror, his nostrils flared, his chest heaved, and he screamed at the figure standing on the other side to show... Let me start that over. As he looked into the mirror, his nostrils flared, his chest heaved, and he screamed at the figure standing on the other side to show him a reflection that was his own. At these words, Henry backed against the wall in terror. His reflection now seemed to be peering into his very soul with a glare of ill intent. It had the appearance of a menacing animal with a deadly thirst it yearned to quench. Henry regretted this confrontation even more than the last, and begged in his mind for a return to that cheerful smile. Out of the corner of his eye, Henry spotted a mug on a table beside him. He looked from it to the mirror as he pondered his risky option. This will either hurt it, he thought, or infuriate it further. What choice did he really have? As far as he could tell, it could not harm him. But he trembled inside regardless. In the end, it hardly mattered. He could not just let this hell of his continue. He had to end it. In a different context, it would have been a beautiful spectacle. Countless glimmering shards raining down as one. As they hit the ground, they became even more, an endless dance of glass. Time seemed to slow into a poetic moment of serenity. For a moment, Henry breathed. The sense of calm was short-lived. His stare fixed upon the sea of shards at his feet. I think I wrote that wrong. And his stare fixed upon the sea of shards at his feet, and his horror had no equal. What had once been a reflection that matched his likeness was now a gruesome demonic creature, its eyes as black as a starless night, and its skin as pale as a corpse in a blizzard. Its mouth was stretched into an inhumanly large grin, with teeth that resembled rusted knives. Henry screamed as loud as his lungs would allow, then louder. He ran as far as he could, then farther. What happened after that he did not remember. All was a blur. He just ran, farther and farther away from the creature, away from the horror, away from even his own mind. His eyes clenched tight. His calves burned like a furnace. His ears heard only ringing. When Henry opened his eyes, he was in a room no darker than the creature's skin, and as soft as a mattress. There was no mirror in sight, and it had no windows. I'm safe, he thought. Though he did not know how he had arrived here, he was content that fate had seen fit to grant him this reflectionless shelter. A large man, dressed all in white, opened the door. He was followed by a much smaller man holding a tray of food. They did not seem the least bit threatened by Henry, likely due to the jacket that restricted the use of his arms. The small man set the tray on a table at the far side of the modest room, and he left. The large man removed the jacket and followed. Henry sat at the table and examined his meal. A curious sight soon caught Henry's eye. From a glass of water, a smiling face that resembled his own beamed back at him, though he had not smiled. Henry returned to the courtesy. The end. And that is Mirror Mirror, the first of the short stories that I'm working on. Let's see if I'm still alive. Cool. Everything seems to be working fine. Very interesting. Thank you. Oh, there's going to be a lot more where that came from. Let me see what the whole live thing looks like. Ooh, I got like stats and everything on Restream that I can look at. This is interesting. I've never done anything like this before. Although now I'm just now realizing... Hey, Twitch, what am I broadcasting under? It still says Bindi. Shit, let me edit that. Just chatting. There we go. That fixed it. Yeah, I had done... There's settings that I can set up on Restream, but the settings did not give me an option for a category. At least not the OBS extension. But yeah. So I just now realizing, wait a minute. If the last thing I streamed was Bindi, is it still... Yep, it was. So now I know for next time I need to actually go in and manually change it on Twitch before going live. But yeah, the next story is The Room, and I don't know how long it's going to be whenever I rewrite it, but the version I had was about 16 pages. This one, in the format that I'm typing it up in, this one was about 5 pages, so quite a bit longer. This one was more like a dark fairy tale than anything. And yeah, I'm going to be using these short stories to do a little bit of experimenting with storytelling. The majority of the stuff that I write is going to be novellas. But anyway, I'm going to go off the air now. See you in the next one. Oh, just real quick, I was curious if the genre was thriller. I guess thriller. I guess it would technically fit into that genre. The next one is sort of a mystery thriller. But yeah, general horror is the kind of basics of what I'm working with here. Although not every story I write is going to be in the horror genre. In fact, the other series that's going to run alongside Midnight Falls is going to be more of a like a pulp fantasy. Although there's going to be some scary stuff in there. But anyway, yeah, so this time I'm going to go ahead and go off. This is Chatsu signing out.